Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Nguyen.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
All right, everybody, welcome to For the Horde, brought to you by Bat Force Radio. I'm Tom, and man, I just realized how obnoxiously long that intro is when you're waiting for it live. I thought I edited it back because there's another version that we do for the video, but I guess I forgot to slide in there. But my guest today is Paul from Cannibal Corpse, and holy shit, man, this is so cool. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to talk to you. When this drops, I think it's going to be release day. So release day Friday is upon us. Brand new album, 30 plus years, Cannibal Corpse, Violence Unimagined. How does it feel, man?
Oh, man, it feels awesome. You know, I mean, it's crazy to think we've been around 32 years to release our 15th record and you know, still doing well here, you know, still relevant. Fans are excited. We're excited. So yeah, it's a great time right now for sure.
Yeah, I would say extremely relevant. You know, I try to stay away from like album reviews and stuff like that, just because I really don't give a shit. Like I just try to listen to what I like. And, but you know, with you guys, you're so massive that it's hard to avoid that. So, but I mean, everything I've seen so far, everyone has been saying, this new one's great. This one's a banger, like one of the best they've done in recent memory. You know, nothing but praise for Eric joining the fold. So it's really cool to see, man, that you guys are, so, you know, 32 years in, everyone seems to be really loving it. Something that I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, I know you probably do like 100 of these like a week. So it's a lot of times it's the same question over and over again. So there are some great interviews out there that, you know, I think I saw, Metal Blade did one with you guys. I think I want to say Decibel, and you just recently talked to my buddy, the Metal Triz. He did a great one with you.
Yep.
So all those things about the current thing, you know, the music stuff is out there. That's great. But something about this podcast that I'd like to get into is I really want to get inside your head as far as like what's been going on since before even those 32 years up until now. Where does this stuff come from? You know what I mean? Right. Because I mean, like, you know, you go on some of you guys' social medias, you're hanging out with your families, you're doing like Easter, it's like normal stuff, you know, and then you see a cover like Violence Unimagined and you're like, all right, where are these guys coming from? So one thing that I know, you know, we're talking about crossover and comic stuff, but something that I think obviously you guys are known for is your covers, your imagery. So I just want to run through your this is like some of the stuff that you've done, I think, for this book. It's like a book, right? For the new album, it's like a collector's book that you had with the vinyl. And it just looks awesome, man. Like, did you guys have, were you guys able to kind of go through this and say what you wanted and what you liked and kind of had input on that?
Yeah, I mean, Metal Blade, it was kind of really their idea to put out the this art book with the vinyl, which I think was a great idea. I mean, the fans seemed to be really eating it up, and I mean, it turned out amazing. Yeah, but I mean, it was kind of all self-explanatory. We knew Vince was doing all these pieces like he's doing. You see what you're looking at there, him doing an individual piece of art per song. And that was going to be coinciding, of course, next to the lyrics. And I mean, we obviously have the two different covers. The cover that's shown in the front there, like when you're looking at the whole art book, is the censored version. And then when you open it up, I believe the second page is the uncensored version. And we didn't know what they were actually adding with the whole flag. I think we might have known it was the flag. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think they asked us, "Do you want a flag or a poster?" And we know the flag seems to probably be doing better these days than the old days. Now we're old school, so there wasn't really many flags back in the day. It was all paper posters, But I think the way to go these days is more of the flag like that. So then we found out, right, they're putting a sticker in there, they're putting a patch.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got a great representation of the artwork and the whole packaging as a whole when you're getting this art book. So it was really more Metal Blade's idea. And then, of course, we got to approve it and everything. But, I think, like I said, it was kind of all self-explanatory the way it was all going to come together.
Yeah, it looks nice, man. I know that I love collecting vinyl. A lot of my friends, they do as well. And it's kind of a no-brainer when it's Cannibal Corpse. And through the history of your guys' releases, the kind of art you're going to get. So when they said art book, like my ears perked up right away.
Right.
And it was almost like a blind impulse buy. But yeah, I got to say, man, like I was really impressed with, I love how it feels like a little, I don't know how many homes are going to be able to put it on their coffee table, but a nice coffee table book, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like
you're
for
right,
when guests come over and you can flip through, look at that. And, but yeah, the flag, man, I think kids love putting flags all around their rooms and their posts and the flags will last longer than a poster too, I think. So I think that's something
definitely. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, that's just one aspect of you guys is number one, the music. Like, obviously, you guys are the greatest, okay? Most relevant, still going strong. It's the album itself is amazing. But the imagery, it's just you guys you amp it up, obviously, with the history that you've had. And I kind of wanted to, that's why I had kind of Nikki reach out to you and ask you kind of like your history of, those kinds of things, imagery and being skilled. Because like Ace Ventura came out, I was 8 years old. I saw you guys, that looked cool. But at the same time, I thought you guys were some of the scariest dudes I've ever seen. Little 8-year-old boy, and I'm like looking like, what's going on? So you guys, you scared me away for a while, right?
Well, when you're that young, I can understand, right?
Right. And then at like most things, like I feel like that you're first afraid of or scared of, it intrigues you. It's not real after a while, so it intrigues you. So you guys, the name intrigued me, the image, the sound, and eventually around high school, found my way to you guys.
Nice.
And I was just like, oh my God,
Right.
I didn't think what you guys were doing was allowed, and the fact that it's out there and you guys are in magazines and it's just, it blew me away. So what I wanted to know is like, from when you were a kid, you kind of had a similar kind of thing happen. I think you mentioned, what was the first thing that kind of like, oh my God, first thing that kind of scared you or kind of like intrigued you, I think was this album cover, right? Kiss Alive.
Nope, it was Kiss Alive 2.
Oh.
Yep, it was.
Boom.
Yep, there you go. I mean, and it's like I said, it's not even the cover. I mean, you're looking at four guys. It was the image of Gene. I mean, just look at that. I mean, now that doesn't really scare the living hell out of you as a young boy like you were watching us in Ace Ventura. I mean, what is, and Kiss was my first band. That was my first musical kind of like just the band I really loved and I worshiped them.
Yeah.
And I guess I was drawn to Gene. Gene was my favorite guy in the band, and just the way he was being the demon and just, spitting the blood and breathing the fire and all this. But just for some reason, that picture alone, more than any other image, I think that was going around at that time was just like insane. Yeah. Looking at it right now, I'm like, that is just so brutal looking, and, it scared me. I mean, it definitely frightened me. Like, you don't want to, as much as I love Kiss, and they're my heroes, I wouldn't want to run into Gene in a dark alley or outside, or probably even a well lit alley for that matter, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably definitely was the first image on an album cover that really got to me.
Yeah, that was, I want to say, was that 78? Maybe.
I think it was earlier. I think that was 77, maybe that was.
All right.
This came out maybe 77. And I might have went backwards because I'm trying to think. I got into Kiss probably around that time.
Yeah.
It was 77, I guess I got into them. And I remember getting Destroyer as one of my first albums, and then that was my first concert seeing Kiss in 1979 on the Dynasty tour.
Wow.
So I can't, and I was just almost 11 years old at that point. So I can't remember when Kiss Alive 2 actually came into play. I don't know if I got it per se when it just first came out, but definitely that was the one out of any of their album covers or any of the imagery that really, really did me in.
Yeah. 11 years old and seeing that powerful of a stage show live, that burns into your brain.
It was amazing. I mean, it's funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this whole story. So it's kind of ironic we're talking about it right now, but like I said, my first concert, this is the band that I'm worshiping. I remember, my parents actually took me to the show. I was supposed to go with a friend of mine from school. I guess I was in 6th grade. So of course you got to go with somebody. And it was supposed to be my friend and his aunt. So his aunt was younger, and maybe she was into it. Who knows? But all I remember is it didn't happen. And I just freaked out to my parents, like, oh my God, I have to see the show. I mean, I went I was probably crying, all that, because I need to see Kiss. They're my favorite band. I am loving it. So I remember my mom and, we went and got tickets, and we went as a family, my mom and dad and my young sister, who was 7 years old, or maybe she was almost 8 at that point. And they went just because I had to go, not that they were into it at all. But I was just, of course, it was blown away. I mean, to see my favorite band for my first concert like that, and seeing that exactly, it was just unbelievable. So what a time! What
a tour, man! You wanted the best, you got it, right? So
yeah. I mean, looking back now, because you're so young, I wish I would have saw, like Kiss Alive 2. Like that was another thing. You opened up the gatefold for Kiss Alive 2, and the whole stage show like that they had on that album and that tour. That's what I was, that's what I'm used to seeing all the time. Yeah. So Dynasty tour stage. Of course, it was still a great show, but it was different at that point already, Right. I mean, they're looking a little bit different, and it was amazing. But, man, it would have been awesome to see him on that Kiss Alive tour, which I believe was Rock and Roll Over maybe, or Love Gun or something like that, I think it was. But either way, I'll take it, not a bad concert for my first time. So
what did your family think of these guys, like at that time, at that year, seeing this stuff? Like, what was the cultural landscape of a kid like you bringing home this record or listening to it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think they probably just didn't get it, obviously. But then my mom had to take me to get these records. I remember my mom getting me a couple if I want this record. Okay. So, I guess they must have just figured, okay, it's music, but they're probably looking at this going, what the heck, is going on here? So, yeah, because this is all new stuff to them, right? They were into, music, but it was more like the Beatles and the Beach Boys and, just the stuff of the 60s and, all the 50s kind of music. So I'm sure they were kind of wondering what is my son into here? What's going on?
Yeah.
But they supported me, and that was amazing. I never heard anything negative because, like I said, I lived Kiss, and my room was just everything Kiss. So I'm a 10-year-old that's just living Kiss. So I got this stuff all over my bedroom, and I mean, I said I lived them. So they didn't seem to care about that. They figured, okay, well, it's they know who I am as a person, and this is what I'm into, and they want to support me. And if they make me happy, because I'm happy, enjoying what this band. So. So it seemed, looking back, it just seemed all fairly positive for the most part,
That's good. Yeah, because, you hear a lot of stories about, I have a friend, I worked at a bookstore in college, and the manager, his favorite band as a kid was AC/DC, but his mother never let him listen to Antichrist Devil Children. So he never got to buy the records or anything. It wasn't until he got into college and moved out. Wow. And he bought all the records. And when we worked at the bookstore, if he was working, we only had we only had AC/DC playing. And in college, dude, we'll fucking listen to AC/DC all day. I'm cool with that.
Of course.
Yeah. But it's funny how that happens. It's great that you had that experience where,
Yeah.
Look at this guy. I mean, like his name is the Demon.
Yep. Right.
He's got blood coming out of his mouth. He's got
Right.
crazy makeup, and then the other dudes are known as like Spaceman and all that.
Yeah.
Was that another thing too? Like, there's no internet. There's just magazines, maybe.
Yep.
Word of mouth. So the mystique around these guys, I would imagine, was huge too, right? Like you don't know what they look like really yet.
Not then. No, totally. I mean, back then it was right. You didn't know because there was nothing out there. Everything was just so mysterious, and that was obviously a great allure, I think, back then when you're a young kid. Yeah, because you didn't know that until later on. And there was always something that might come out that was like a picture like that, or just like a weird half shot of them, like, oh my gosh, you see a little piece of them without makeup. This is, but yeah, I mean, amazing time to be growing up with music where everything with the pre-internet era and all that. And right, everything was magazines, word of mouth, even the newspapers and stuff. I mean, mostly the magazines, of course. I remember I still got a bunch of my Kiss magazines because anything that had Kiss in it, I had to buy because that's where you're getting your information from, where else are you going to get it? You got to get magazines. So you'd seek out magazines of anything Kiss in it. And I still got a bunch of them, if not all of them, that I had when I was young because, they meant so much to me, it was a huge, big part of my childhood. And, but yeah, what an amazing time when everything was just unknown because of, right. Pretty much the lack of internet. I mean, that of course changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, there's good and bad, but I think for us, it makes you guys a lot more accessible, and we can have conversations like this now as fans and as press to kind of get your insight, and kids learn a lot more about you, which can be a good and bad thing depending upon how you look at it. But yeah, man, I think the internet had to not exist back in those days for us to have everything as great as we have now, because I think that really motivated and fueled you guys. I mean, you're little kids who are just obsessed with like Kiss, the music, the images, and like it's just your whole life, and you surround yourself in your room with it, and it's like
right.
And then that just puts that you guys turn into that version of yourselves as adults now who are putting out that kind of thing for everybody else. And so you're one of those bands, I think, that the longevity that you've had, I think, has a lot to do with the fact that you've kind of had that knowledge about fans, because you were that, we want to have a cool flag, we want to have the craziest looking album artwork that accents the music, and it just makes everything that much more enjoyable as a fan. Is like, everyone wants to get the collector's edition, everyone wants to get that one, and you want to get the vinyl because it comes with the flag and all that. And so and it allows us to kind of love you guys more through extension that way, and so kind of getting over to like, again, so around that time you're watching Kiss, you're getting into Kiss, but then you also mentioned that this is a movie that scared the hell out of you. It's Alive.
It did. And I got to see what I was curious what year that came out. I think it might have been around the same time, 76, maybe 77.
Yeah, around that same time. Yeah.
And and there you go. That I remember that was on TV, whether it was on HBO, because HBO was just coming out around that time. But I just remember seeing that movie and being scared shitless. I mean, because I'm exactly, how old am I? 8, 9, 10, and I just remember this movie it was so creepy, and it was just, wow, that's the, first thing I saw in a movie setting like that just, it was chilling. It really, it probably, I'm sure I had nightmares. You never forget, right? I remember having to answer this question. I'm like, oh, well, that was so easy. It's Alive. I mean, just look at this poster, man. Like, look at the claw hanging out of the bassinet, and it's completely blacked out except for the dude. I mean, I think I started watching this movie at some point. It was on somewhere, and I don't remember being a kid. I remember being like a teenager or something, and I was like, no, I'm not watching this shit. This is like, I can't handle this right now. Like, at the time I was still too scared to delve into it. So yeah, man. So this really creeped you out, but did it give you kind of a want to go get into more horror stuff, or was it just like you stayed away for a while? It's hard to remember that. That's so long ago. And I mean, I guess I liked it, I don't know. I can't, man, I wish I could really, really remember. I remember it scared me. And, of course it would have been pre any of the right, the classic horror that we ended up growing up with when we were a little older, like Halloween and The Exorcist and Friday the 13th and all those kind of things. So I don't know if that made me want to go watch horror anymore, or it was just, I saw that and I was scared and I'm like, I don't want to see anything like this, because I was just maybe too young and I just wasn't ready for it. That one's a tough one to answer, because I really can't remember everything surrounding it. But obviously, it didn't scare me for too long. Like I said, once I got a little bit older, and then the movies that I was talking about came out, and, of course we're going to see those and loving those movies and loving anything, horrific when we're an early teen, a young teen in the early 80s. So, so it was definitely a precursor, but yeah, I all I know is that movie, scared the shit out of me.
Well, it obviously left an impression that, I think it gives kids what's scary now. You know what your limit is. You know what scares you. So you're like, sometimes in your art, you kind of replicate that back to us, because like, all right, this is really fucking scary. Like I remember an interview. I think it's a pretty famous interview. I forget, like I think it's like Get Thrashed or something like that. But it's a documentary, and they're talking to Tom from Slayer, and they're asking him about like, God hates us all, and he's like, oh, God doesn't hate. And then he's like, but that's a great fucking title, isn't it? Like, he's like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up, and maybe we shouldn't, but man, it sounds good, right? So they're pissing people off. And like, I think I heard you mentioning the same thing about your album artwork. And damn, I forgot to put Eaten Back to Life on here. But another question I asked you before was your favorite, and it's that first one, Eaten Back to Life, that cover art. What is it about that artwork, I think, that still makes that your favorite?
Well, probably a couple things. Two things. I mean, I think it is just something about the way it's the colors, the detail, just the action kind of it, where it's just like the corpse ripping himself open kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something about that piece is just unique to anything we've done, I think. And I mean, Butchered's a great one. I mean, we got a lot of great ones. They're all good.
Yeah.
It really is a kind of a tough one to answer for the most part.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do really like the color scheme and just the way it looks. But a lot of it has to do with, man, it's our first album, I mean, how is that not so special when you're just releasing your first record or your first CD, and you get your hands on that, and you're looking at your album and you're looking at your CD going, wow, this is us making it. This is us putting our mark in the world, having our music out there. And here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the first one, and we're of course very proud of it, and excited and all those kinds of things. So I think that may have a lot to do with it, because then I always go back to what's my favorite Cannibal record. Then it's always going to go back to, the one that means the most to me. Well, of course, Eaton does, because it's the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, how can it not really? But yeah, I think for those two reasons. I mean, just great art. I mean, Vince does great on all of them, but something about that one, like I said, the color scheme and the action of it, and being our first CD, and I mean, that's that's pretty cool.
Difficult to think about anything as crazy as that kind of being put out, you mentioned it being your first one. I guess I didn't realize this. You guys were only 8 months into being a band when you guys were signed by Metal Blade.
That's right. Yeah.
That's insane.
It is pretty insane. I mean, the whole Cannibal story, I mean, it went together so quick. It came together so quick. It was almost like overnight, just everything happened, and you're going, what the heck? A couple of years go by, and this is, right. What happened? I mean, amazing, insane. No, I always say that because same thing, because exactly, some bands, they're around for years. I mean, and all that kind of thing before anything happens. But the fact that we were just so brand new, and then that happened, we get signed, we're making our new record, or our debut record, I should say, about a year after we've formed. I mean, it was like, what is going on here? I mean, no time to blink, no time to do anything. And everything just snowballed from there, because then it was put a record out, do a couple shows, and then put another record out, do a couple tours. I mean, it's kind of weird to think that the first 4 Cannibal albums came out in basically a 4-year span, which is pretty incredible. So, but yeah, what a story we have, what a history, and just insane that it all happened so fast.
Yeah, I've watched that. What is it, the 10-year anniversary DVD? I wore that one out. It's funny because it's just a documentary, but like it's such a good documentary, and like you guys, I mean, the foresight that you guys had to have a camcorder in the studio when you were kids recording that, like that's the coolest part to me of the DVD is watching you guys recording those albums as freaking kids, man. And it's like, holy shit, like these guys had a camcorder with them. That's so smart. Like,
No, it's cool to document stuff like that. I mean, it's funny too, because that was Jack and Jack. Jack always had the camcorder, and we filmed so much stuff back then, which exactly, you look back and you're like, man, that's awesome. Great to document stuff like that. And, we're very lucky that we have that footage to be able to, put in the DVD and everything. And it's just, great history. So, what a cool thing. We're very happy that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I gotta throw it over to, like I said, we are this is a spin-off show of a comic book show. So another thing I threw in there is like, I wanted to know what your favorite Batman was, and no one's going to fight you on this one, I think. I mean, how can you not love Adam West, right? As Batman. So. Oh
yeah, man. I mean, it's funny too, because, obviously that's who I grew up with. It sounded the same thing, What did you do? You watched the original Batman series, all the time. I mean, it was awesome. It was amazing. And that is the Batman that I'm going to associate with Batman, obviously out of all of the ones there are and have been, and I guess will be. And it's funny too. I remember I went to a it's probably the same thing. How old was I? I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. Went to a comic, no, it was a car show. I think it was. Went to a bunch of car shows and they had the Batmobile. They had the original Batmobile there. And Adam West and Burt Ward were there too, signing autographs.
Oh man!
And I remember getting a picture next to both of them. Like getting up there, meeting them real quick, like a quick meet and greet kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, there you are. You're meeting Batman and Robin, and seeing the Batmobile. I mean, it was just like, wow, this is exciting, because this is, when you're a kid like that, this is huge,
Right.
And always going to be the most special, of course, for me. Is Adam West and the original show.
I had this picture was taken at San Diego Comic-Con, I think like 2013 or 14, but this they had all the Batmobiles out. You can see in the back of this one, there's the Val Kilmer. I think that's the Val Kilmer one.
Oh, okay.
In the background, but they had all of them from all the movies out.
Oh,
and
wow.
In this like grassy area, and in like they obviously had them all polished and cleaned. And this one though, man, like it just freaking pops. Like
it does.
With the stripes and I think a lot of people say like, it's a 1-2 punch. Number one, it's Batman and it's Adam West playing Batman, but number two, that car was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So
I love old cars. I love classic cars like from the 60s, early 70s. I mean, and there you go, fit right in there. What a great modification of an old car like that. And I mean, iconic. Exactly, that original Batmobile, iconic.
And then I also asked you if Cannibal Corpse could be a Batman villain. You mentioned the Joker. So this is a pretty brutal version of the Joker. This is he's from a line called "The Death of the Family," and this version of the Joker has cut his face off.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of wears it now as his own mask.
Oh, nice.
And so he's slowly like stalking. It's like the most evil version of Batman. He's like, or the Joker. So he's been stalking Batman. So when you mentioned Joker, like that's the immediate image I got. Is this is Greg Capullo's Joker?
And awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that. There's so much of the newer stuff that I'm just unaware of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, there you go. This version of the Joker fits right in, right?
Right.
I mean,
cuts his face off.
Hey, that's Cannibal Corpse, right?
Yeah, I think you wrote lyrics to a song about that on the new one, right?
Exactly. That's kind of ironic as well. Serum into the Flayed. I mean, that's kind of exactly what he's doing here for the most part. So it makes sense. So I'm glad you found that. I'm glad that version exists because, like I said, I don't know too much, unfortunately, about the newer Batman stuff and all that. But that's it. You know, Cannibal Corpse would be that version of
For
the
sure.
character, for sure. Yeah.
There's also another character that I wanted to share with you. This one's called Professor Pig.
Oh,
And this
okay.
guy was created by Grant Morrison, a really good writer. And then this version is an artist by the name of Mitch Gerads.
Okay.
And he what's super awesome about this one, if you can tell in the background, the blood splatter makes a silhouette of Batman.
Oh, yeah. I see
But
that.
this guy's kind of like a Leatherface type of villain
Gotcha.
where he just hacks people up and puts them together. And
Oh, wow. No
so
kidding.
when I thought of you guys, I thought of this guy too. So it's
Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah, very cool. That's a cool one. Very evil these days. Very different than the Batman, you know, than the Adam West,
Adam West,
Batman
right?
show that I grew up with. You
Yeah,
know?
well, I think like similar to you, man, like the guys who are writing the stuff now are like a little bit closer to like our age and older, and
That's right.
they saw Kiss live, then they saw It's Alive, and these are the things that scared them. Maybe some of them listen to Cannibal Corpse. Actually, that artist right here, Greg Capullo, is actually a big metalhead,
Oh, right.
and you know, he likes he loves Kiss, he loves Ozzy Osbourne's Black Label Society, that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's kind of like, imagine if you were to write comics, right? This is kind of probably what you would put out there. So
yeah, well, of course, nowadays it's so much different, you know, because back then, you know, there just wasn't that much imagery happening that way in everything, in comics, in albums, and you know, I mean, it's a different game these days, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, right, there's probably people my age, but people your age, young people that exactly grew up with, you know, death metal and you know, and some of the horror movies that are out there that obviously just are so insane compared to what they were, you know, when I was growing up and all that. So it's, you know, it's going to morph like that, which is cool. You know, it's staying modern. And that's what you need in all these mediums. So that's it's awesome. That's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time and let you go. Before I let you go, I just want to say that the future is in good hands. I want to show you a picture real quick. This is my son, and
nice.
This is a patch jacket that I put together for him. It was like a little pandemic project, but you could see a hammer smashed face patch
I see
right
that.
on
The
there.
Morbid Angel on there. And
And here's the back of it too. That's the back.
Nice.
That was right after I threw it together. So yeah, man, the future is in good hands. I'm making sure of that.
Yeah, great to know. Great to know. You know, that's awesome. Yeah, that looks good. It's a great shot of him too.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hey, Paul. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. This is you're the first guy that I've interviewed in this kind of break off into what we've been doing. So, what an amazing first episode to have with you. One of the greatest, man. So I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate your time, man.
Oh man, thank you. And it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did this, and I appreciate all the kind words. And
yeah, of course.
You know, hopefully we can do it again at some point. So.
Oh yeah, man. Whenever you're free, I'm more than happy to do it. So
that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. So
cool. It's always a good time to talk about Kiss. So you know why not?
You know, you cannot never talk about Kiss. So
cool, man.
And then just everything we talked about. That was a lot of fun and awesome.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it, Paul. Have a good day. All right.
All right, man. You too. Take care.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.